Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be talking all about cybersecurity and more specifically ransomware.
Okay.
But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Stonefly. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions.
Wow.
To prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com. Now, getting back to it, we're going to be looking at two ransomware gangs today.
Okay.
Black Basta and Cactus.
Interesting.
These groups are always coming up with new, crazy ways to attack people, and their tactics and malware are always evolving.
Right.
So we're going to break it all down today.
Sounds good.
So first up, we've got this new malware called BackConnect.
Okay.
And it's a proxy tool that's been making some serious waves.
Really?
Yeah, it helps cybercriminals basically hide their activity online. Makes it much harder for security systems to detect what they're doing.
Oh, so it's like a disguise. Yeah, exactly. And this makes it way easier for them to gain remote access to servers that they've compromised.
That's pretty sneaky.
Yeah, it is. And it gets even more interesting because researchers have found connections between BackConnect and other malware, like Zloder and Qbot.
Qbot.
Yeah, also known as Quackbot. And you know what those are tied to?
What's that?
The Black Basta ransomware operation.
So it's all connected.
It is. They all work together, forming kind of like a malware ecosystem.
Wow.
And each one plays a specific role in helping that ransomware get deployed.
So they've got a whole arsenal.
They do. It's crazy.
Okay.
So speaking of Black Basta,
Yeah.
they first showed up back in April 2022.
Oh, okay.
And there were some theories that some of their members were actually part of the Conti ransomware gang before.
Conti gang.
Yeah, which was responsible for some huge attacks.
I heard of them.
So this connection to Conti would mean that Black Basta inherited a lot of experience. They were pretty sophisticated right from the start.
Right.
And this is supported by their use of Crackbot in the beginning.
Quackbot again.
Yeah, they used Crackbot to get into their target's network before they actually deployed the Black Basta ransomware.
So they use it like a key.
Yeah, like a key to unlock the door and get inside.
Clever.
But then, in 2023, a law enforcement operation disrupted Qbot.
Oh, wow.
And this forced Black Basta to adapt.
Of course.
They had to find a new way to breach those networks.
So what did they do?
Well, that's where BackConnect comes back in. They
Yeah.
shifted to BackConnect,
Interesting.
which suggests that they were still working with the developers behind Qbot.
Makes sense.
It shows how resilient these ransomware groups are.
It really does.
They just find new ways to reach their goals.
Like they always have a plan B.
Exactly. And speaking of plans, you know, it's a good plan.
What's that?
Protecting your data. That's why this episode is sponsored by Stonefly. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions. Remember to prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com. All right, now there's another group we need to talk about.
Okay.
The Cactus ransomware group.
Cactus.
And guess what?
What?
They've also been found using BackConnect.
Really?
Yeah, so both Black Basta and Cactus are using the same malware. That can't be a coincidence.
Right.
It's a pretty big clue that there might be some overlap between these two groups.
So like they're sharing members.
Potentially, or at least sharing resources.
So what else do we know about how these groups operate?
Well, both Black Basta and Cactus are really good at social engineering.
Social engineering.
Yeah, which is basically manipulating people into giving up sensitive information.
Oh, so like tricking people.
Exactly. They use all these sophisticated tactics that exploit human psychology. They might bombard their targets with phishing emails.
Phishing email.
Yeah, disguised as legitimate messages.
That's scary.
Or they might even impersonate IT help desk employees
How do they do that?
using platforms like Microsoft Teams.
Wow, so they really blend in.
They do. Their goal is to gain remote access to the victim's computer,
Right.
and then they convince them to install malicious software or even grant them access through legitimate remote access tools like Windows Quick Assist.
So they're using tools that are meant to help us against us.
It's pretty scary, and researchers have seen some really interesting similarities in their attack flows.
Like what?
Well, in some cases, Cactus was even seen using command and control servers that are typically associated with Black Basta.
So it's not just the tools, but the whole approach.
It seems like they're either learning from each other or even more likely working together.
The evidence is really piling up.
It is, but there's even more.
Oh, wow.
Researchers found that Cactus use a PowerShell script called total exec.
Total exec.
Yeah, And this was previously seen in Black Basta attacks.
So they're sharing techniques.
Yeah. And to make things even more interesting, Black Basta was later seen using an encryption routine that was initially unique to Cactus.
So they're not just copying each other, they're influencing each other.
Exactly. It's a very dynamic relationship.
This raises a big question, though.
What's that?
Is Cactus just a rebrand of Black Basta, or is it just an overlap in their members?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out.
The shared tactics, the use of BackConnect, and the way they operate all point to a deeper connection.
It's a puzzle, and we're going to keep digging to try and solve it.
Looking forward to it.
And before we continue our deep dive, we want to thank our sponsor, Stonefly. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions. To prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com. Now let's get back to it.
Yeah, it really does make you think, like, are they merging or are they just sharing resources? I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's like trying to hit a moving target.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you think you understand who they are and what they're doing, they just disappear.
Exactly.
And actually, speaking of disappearing, Black Basta has been a lot quieter since late 2024.
Oh, yeah.
Their leak site was offline for most of 2025.
That's right.
It could be that some of their members moved to other ransomware gangs,
Yeah,
like maybe Cactus, as Black Basta faded away.
that would make sense.
We've seen that kind of thing happen before.
Definitely.
But, stepping back for a second,
Yeah.
this level of collaboration we're seeing between these ransomware groups is a little bit alarming.
It is. It really is alarming.
It seems like the whole ransomware ecosystem is getting more sophisticated and coordinated.
Yeah, they're learning from each other, sharing resources, and getting better at what they do.
Right, and that makes them even more dangerous.
Definitely.
It's like they're forming a huge criminal syndicate
That's a good way to put it.
with all these specialized skills and, a shared goal,
Which is,
making as much money as possible.
oh, sadly, yeah.
So what can we do about it? How can we protect ourselves from all this?
Well, it's a big problem, and it needs a big solution.
Right.
We need to do a lot of things.
Right.
First, we need to make our defenses stronger.
Okay.
Strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, keeping our software updated, all that stuff.
Right, the basics.
Yeah, it's like locking your doors and windows. We want to make it as hard as possible for them to get in.
But we've seen that they can get around even the best defenses with social engineering.
That's true.
So what else can we do?
I think education is really important.
Okay.
We need to teach people how to spot phishing attacks and other social engineering tactics.
So they don't fall for the trick.
Exactly. Make them aware of what's out there.
So it's like teaching people how to spot a con artist.
Yeah, exactly. Once you know the signs, you can avoid them.
And of course, we need good security software too.
Of course.
Endpoint protection, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, all that.
Right. It's like having a security guard patrolling your network 24/7.
Always looking for suspicious activity.
Yep. And speaking of protection, you know what else is crucial?
What's that?
Backups.
Oh yeah, backups are essential, especially when it comes to ransomware.
Exactly.
And this episode is brought to you by Stonefly. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions. To prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com. Now, getting back to backups, if you have good backups, you can just restore your system from a clean backup if you get hit by ransomware.
Yeah, it's like going back in time before the attack even happened.
Exactly. But what if you don't have good backups?
Well, then it gets a bit trickier.
Are you just out of luck?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
There are some ransomware decryption tools out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they don't work for every type of ransomware.
So you have to get lucky.
Kind of. You have to see if there's a tool specifically for the ransomware that got you.
So it's not a perfect solution.
No, it's not.
This is all getting pretty intense.
It is.
Maybe we should try to lighten things up a bit. It's kind of funny when you think about it.
What is?
We're talking about this serious topic of cybercrime,
Right.
but we're using technology to have this conversation.
That's true.
It's a bit ironic.
Yeah, technology can be used for good or bad.
Exactly. It all depends on who's using it.
Good point.
So in this case, we're using it to try and help people
To stay safe.
to stay safe and, be more aware.
That's what it's all about.
And I think that's a good reminder that we all need to use technology responsibly.
Absolutely. Both as individuals and as organizations.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've looked at the connections between these ransomware gangs
Right.
and how their tactics are changing and how important it is to be proactive about security.
Definitely.
We also talked about what to do if you actually get hit with a ransomware attack.
And how tough those decisions can be.
Yeah, and through it all, I think the main takeaway is that knowledge is power.
It's a good way to put it.
The more we understand about the threats out there, the better prepared we'll be to defend against them.
Couldn't agree more.
Cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination.
Well said.
We need to keep learning, keep adapting, and work together to make the digital world safer.
Absolutely.
And speaking of working together, we want to thank our sponsor, Stonefly. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions. To prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup, and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com. They're a great partner to have on your side in this fight.
They are.
Yeah, it's like a never-ending battle.
Right. And the stakes keep getting higher.
And the consequences of a successful attack are huge.
It's not just about money anymore.
Right, it's about disrupting critical infrastructure, maybe even national security.
It's scary stuff.
It is, and it's easy to focus on the technical side of things.
Yeah.
But we can't forget that there are real people behind these attacks.
Absolutely.
People who are motivated by profit or ideology.
Or maybe just a sense of power.
Right, and understanding why they do it is just as important as understanding how they do it.
I agree. It can help us predict their next move.
And come up with better ways to stop them.
Exactly.
So how do we disrupt this whole game?
That's the million-dollar question.
Can we even stay ahead of these guys? They're always evolving.
It's tough, but I think the key is collaboration.
Yeah.
Law enforcement, cybersecurity professionals, even everyday users, we all need to work together.
To share information.
Yeah, and develop new defenses.
And raise awareness.
Right, it's like a global neighborhood watch for the digital world.
We all need to look out for each other.
Exactly.
So we need to create this culture of cybersecurity where everyone understands the risks.
And everyone takes responsibility for protecting themselves.
And their data.
Right. It's not just about technology either.
Right.
It's about people, processes, policies.
It's about a holistic approach to cybersecurity.
I like that.
So we need to change our mindset.
From reactive to proactive.
Right, not, it won't happen to me.
But what can I do to stop it from happening?
We need to be empowered, not afraid.
I agree.
So what do you think what does the future hold for ransomware?
It's hard to say for sure,
Right.
but I think it's safe to say that it's not going away anytime soon.
So we need to stay vigilant.
Absolutely. Stay informed, stay proactive.
No room for complacency.
None at all. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Well said. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive for today.
It does.
We've learned a lot about the connections between ransomware gangs
And their sneaky tactics.
and how crucial proactive security measures are.
And how important it is to have a solid backup and disaster recovery plan in place.
Speaking of which, we want to thank our sponsor, Stonefly, one last time. Stonefly is an enterprise leader in storage backup and DR AI storage and cloud solutions. To prevent data loss, get air-gapped and immutable backup, and DR from Stonefly. Contact sales at stonefly.com to learn more about how they can help protect your valuable data.
They're a great resource.
So as we sign off, we want to leave you with this thought. In a world where the line between the physical and digital is getting blurrier every day, what can we do to create a more secure and resilient digital future?
That's a great question.
It is something to think about as we all navigate this crazy world.
Definitely.
So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.
Thanks for listening, everyone.